Serena's Playbook segment. This is all about leveling up your thinking and learning things, discussing things, reflecting on things that weren't taught in school but should have been taught in school. So, this segment specifically called Serena's Playbook is it's going to be about ideas being under pressure, how AI is causing a disconnect for artists and for creatives. So, this is why it's so important now to protect your ideas from AI homogenization. Okay. Now, the purpose is really that we need to have much more strategic insight on the threat that AI poses to our sort of diversity of ideas. I mean, there needs to be a diversity of ideas and new ideas, and how to sort of build our creative resilience. I watched this really good episode by a creator who talks all about music, as a musician and a teacher and a producer. And they sort of recorded a song using AI. And they said, it sounds like this band and that band and this band and that band because AI has basically used other people's ideas. So that's why it doesn't feel interesting. It doesn't feel like something that you want to become a fan of, because you're not really connecting to an artist, you're not really connecting to an idea. And so that's why it's really important for us to protect our ideas, and not in the sense of, not sharing ideas because someone's going to copy them, but actually so that we can have the ability to generate ideas, our own ideas. And that sort of like creative process is something that should be deemed as valuable and sacred, really. So we're going to look at an article that is actually been published by Knowledge at Wharton. It's the Wharton School of Business. Let me just get this absolutely clear. Is this the University of Pennsylvania? Okay, so I'm gonna read the article. It's called "Does AI Limit Our Creativity?" And we're going to speak about it and discuss it, and you're going to let me know your thoughts. So let's get to this Serena's Playbook segment. So new research from Wharton shows that AI users tend to generate similar ideas, which can actually hinder innovation. So the key takeaways from this piece are ChatGPT boosts the quality of ideas, but also reduces variety. Repetitive prompts and the design of AI models can lead to overlapping, less diverse responses. And for innovation to thrive, teams must deliberately protect and prompt a diversity of ideas. So as more companies look to tools like ChatGPT to supercharge creativity, a new study out of Wharton offers a word of caution. Generative AI may boost individual performance, but it can also limit how teams think. New research co-authored by Wharton professors Gideon Nave and Christian Terwish finds that while ChatGPT improves the quality of individual ideas, it also leads groups to generate more similar ideas, reducing the variety that is essential for breakthrough innovation. The takeaway: AI might sharpen your pitch, but it could flatten your team's thinking. As Terwish, co-director of Wharton's Mac Institute, put it, the ideas are great, but not as diverse as human-generated ideas. That points to a trade-off to be aware of. If you rely on ChatGPT as your only creative advisor, you'll soon run out of ideas because they are too similar to each other. The study, led by Mac Institute research fellow Lennart Menk, revisits and extends earlier experiments by researchers who found that participants using ChatGPT during creative tasks produced more original and useful ideas, outperforming both unaided individuals and those using search engines. But Menck and his co authors took a broader view, focusing not just on the quality of individual ideas, but on the diversity of ideas generated across participants. Their concern, even if every suggestion scores well on its own, do too many people end up thinking alike? AI versus human creativity. The original experiments conducted by academics Byung Chol Lee and Jaeon Chung asked participants to complete creative tasks under different conditions, with or without the help of ChatGPT. Reanalyzing this data, Menk and his colleagues found that participants using the chatbot were more likely to produce overlapping responses, often using strikingly similar language. Even when working independently, participants using ChatGPT were more likely to converge on the same answers. In one experiment, people were asked to invent a toy using a fan and a brick. Among those using the AI, nearly all suggestions clustered around the same concept, with several participants even naming their toy Build a Breeze Castle. By contrast, the human only group generated entirely unique ideas. In fact, just 6% of the AI generated ideas were considered unique, compared with 100% in the human group. Here's a takeaway. If you rely on ChatGPT as your only creative advisor, you'll soon run out of ideas because they're too similar to each other. That's from Christian Terwish. So, as Menk explained, when you give the model the same prompt, it tries to average the most likely completions based on that input. So if you repeat the task across multiple sessions, it's not surprising that you get fewer distinct ideas because they all come from the same underlying distribution. Menk and his colleagues measured diversity using a tool developed by Google designed to access how closely content was related in meaning. This helped identify subtle patterns of overlap that might not be obvious at first glance. In 37 out of 45 comparisons, ideas generated with ChatGPT were significantly less diverse than those from other methods. And this pattern held even when the researchers used different techniques to measure similarity. One exception came from a single experiment, which didn't show a clear drop in diversity. The researchers suggest this may be due to a ceiling effect, meaning the task was already so constrained that there wasn't much room for variation in the first place. This underscores a key insight. Creativity is especially vulnerable when the prompt is overly narrow or repeated too often. So here's a better way to brainstorm with AI. These findings have important implications for businesses. In functions like product development and marketing strategy, success often depends not just on generating strong ideas, but also on generating a wide range of them so as to tackle problems from different angles. As the study's authors wrote, the true value of brainstorming stems from the diversity of ideas rather than multiple voices repeating similar thoughts. Yet that diversity doesn't happen on its own. Diversity is often overlooked, but it needs special protection, says Terwish. If you don't solve it for it, if you don't solve for it explicitly, you won't get it. One reason for the lack of diversity of ideas, the researchers note, is that participants often used similar prompts when interacting with ChatGPT, suggesting that some of the convergence in ideas may come from how users engage with the tool. not just how the model generates responses. Even small changes in how questions are framed can lead to more varied results. They argue the cost of varying prompts is low, and given how important diversity is, it would be foolish not to do it, said Terwish. It's not surprising that you get fewer distinct ideas because they all come from the same underlying distribution. One technique the researchers highlight is chain of thought prompting. Rather than asking the chatbot for a single idea all at once, this method breaks the task into smaller structured steps. It can increase the variety of responses and reduce repetition, said Terwish. Menk added that starting with human ideas may help teams move in different directions before introducing AI. He also suggested using multiple AI models to inject greater variety into the brainstorming process. It would be equally foolish not to try 5 models, said Menk, throw them all into the mix and go crazy. The paper arrives as generative AI moves deeper into business workflows, not just for writing and coding, but also for creative tasks like ideation, product naming, and brand development. People have been dreaming about AI being creative, but we have never been closer to having a system reaching a point where we can be at human creativity, said Terwish. That's a big deal. Still, the researchers caution against mistaking fluency for originality. The best ideas, it seems, are still born from disagreement, divergence, and a bit of creative mess. I could not agree more with that sort of sentiment at the very end. There's some comments on this article actually I think would be quite useful to go into just so we can sort of see how people are responding to. There's only a couple. Let's see. David Chester said, I find that the use of AI for creating new ideas is a kind of a filter that separates those people and proposals that are less original and less useful from those which are truly inspired. I'm not sure, kind of want to do that filtering myself, but okay. The reason for my taking this attitude is that today the AI that is available to us is not aimed at creativity, but more simply at providing better arranged information about past findings. Fair enough, David. Proposals that are by people who do not align with AI and have a need to express themselves properly will continue to be made. This implies that the number of original and useful proposals, that is to say, the rate at which they are made, will not change by much, but what a whole lot of less sensible claims will result and need to be discarded. Okay, David Chester. Richard S says, so as I see it, eventually AI will have answered all the questions and will not work anymore. Will AI simply die off or will it unionize? Thanks for that. I really do appreciate that one at the end. That was so useful. I'm so glad to have covered it in this Serena's Playbook segment for my longer stream. Let's get back to what else we could be considering when it comes to protecting our ideas. Now, in our creative world, right, originality isn't just nice. I think it's necessary. And that's why I sort of disagreed with that last sentiment about how AI can be useful for organizing ideas because it sort of knows how to generate the best ones by sort of, I don't know, curating them according to what's the benchmark most popular. So we have that piece from the Wharton. So the question is to you, how do you protect your ideas? How do you protect your ideas from becoming an algorithmic echo? I would say perhaps we use AI to remix what we are doing rather than making that sort of final decision, making that final call. For instance, if you were recording a song and you were having to do that final mix of it, to do that yourself, using your own sort of composition, your own ear. I would also perhaps say you could treat the prompts that you get from AI as considerations and not necessarily, a conclusion. I would also do something which I do quite frequently. I would encourage you to do something that I do frequently, and that is journaling, writing morning pages, as recommended by Julia Cameron in The Artist's Way. Only because what that does is it can get rid of the clutter, the mental clutter. It can root out some sort of new ideas. It could pluck out inspiration. And by writing it by hand, you're going through a process where you're processing better. Like, I'm not going to be able to give you the neurological, uh, correct sort of like proper technical sort of name off the top of my head. That process that you go through when you're writing something and how it sort of like really helps you in a cognitive way. I really do encourage you handwriting notes on a daily basis and having a notebook. And actually, I have a whole piece about going from handset to notebook. You can check that out on my dedicated channel. That's Serena Syed Hussain. We'll get to that bit in a bit. But yeah, collaborate in an analog way first, I would say. So again, do what I do, which is use a notebook, do voice memos, and then perhaps refine with tech, just so you don't lose the magic. So let's really do our best not to outsource all of our ideas. Let's continue to build that muscle that we have, where we hit a bit of a, I don't know, a roadblock or a wall, and you have to figure out a way around it. Don't immediately go to your codependent relationship with AI. Let's build some of that resilience back. So I really hope you enjoyed this segment for Serena's playbook. Hopefully, this will really help you and all of us sort of to level up our creative and our strategic thinking. And if you would like more, then please do uh, don't don't hesitate subscribing to the longer stream on Serena Sayed or these dedicated videos on Serena's Playbook. Awesome. I told you this show is going to be jam packed. There's still more to go. There's still more to go.